to buy and just the incredible life that you had. Did you actually appreciate it at the time, or did you always constantly worry about getting caught and going sent to prison?
Well, how could I describe it? It wasn't a constant worry, but it was part of everyday life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're in that life, you know that every day the government could be watching you. They are watching you, and you had to be careful who you associated with, who you talked to, what information you might be giving somebody. And when you became as big a target as I became, it was constant. So, no, I mean, I slept well at night. I didn't worry every minute of the day. And I had as much or more trouble than most because I have, I think, 7 or 8 indictments. I've lost track of how many times I was indicted, of 17 or 18 arrests. So they were constantly on me. But, you know, I watched my father. It was part of my daily life. I guess I was accustomed to it. So I just lived my life and just fought them every day.
Yeah.
But I still enjoyed myself. I mean, you know, look, I had a plane. I used it. I had a boat, a couple of boats. I used them. You know, so I had fun when I went out. You know, we used to go to clubs at night, a different lifetime with me. So, but then during the day, I was very serious about what I had to do to make money, to protect myself, to be a good soldier, all those things.
If you want to get more content, more information, and extra bonuses I don't post anywhere else, make sure you follow me on Instagram right now. It's at Justin Stenstrom. That's JustinStenstrom. I'm posting pretty much every day throughout the week, most days out of the week for sure, but almost every day. And it's all kinds of information regarding health, wealth, business, life, dating, relationships, confidence, and so much more. I'm telling you, you're going to love seeing some of the stories I post about and the feed posts I post all the time. It's pretty interesting. It's pretty fun. I'm loving Instagram right now, so make sure you follow me, Instagram.com/Justin Stenstrom, or just jump on your phone right now, pull up the Instagram app, and it's at Justin Stenstrom. What do you think that you did differently to evade being put in prison like John Gotti did? Like you just said a few minutes ago that he was basically on tape, and it wasn't like he made a huge mistake. I mean, he got wired and he had, you know, people ratting on him and stuff. But what do you think you did differently to avoid being put in that position and actually later on get the chance to walk away a free man?
You know, Justin, I think I was very fortunate. I mean it, because, you know, when I look back, I see a couple of things broke my way. I want to make this clear too. You know, a lot of people saying John Gotti is responsible for the demise of the mob and all that. That's all nonsense. Look, you know, John was a bigger than life figure in that life. And, you know, the media was responsible for that. And John was a little, you know, he claims responsibility for the way he carried himself. And we get it. But look, there were a lot of guys that got caught up in things unexpectedly, you know, got caught up with informants, got caught up. And everybody combined, you know, we did damage to ourselves. So what I did differently, I was very fortunate in that I didn't get caught on any kind of wiretaps that really hurt me. Never. Okay. I was very careful where I talked. I never get on the phone and had conversations that I shouldn't have. So I never buried myself with my own words. And that was big. And I was kind of leery of the people that I had around me. I kept a close inner circle. And for the most part, that helped me out. Although I did have one big informant. My partner in the gas business was the major informant against me. But oddly enough, he testified against me in a big case Giuliani brought out, and I was acquitted in that case. Wow. So the jury didn't believe me. And as a result of that case, Justin, I'll be honest, after I beat the Giuliani case, I was on trial for several months, and the major witness against me was destroyed on the witness stand. I had some negotiating power. I had leverage with the government because they really wanted a conviction on me. And so when they indicted me on a whole gas tax scheme in the Eastern District of New York, I was able to make a deal because I had just been their biggest witness on a big case. So they were worried. So we were able to negotiate a deal that for me was life-saving because I got a 10-year prison sentence, which at the time was like 10 days. They were giving out sentences like 50 years and 100 years. So I had a 10-year sentence, which means, you know, I was only in my 30s, which means I still had a life ahead of me when I got out. I had a big restitution and fine and all that stuff, but they didn't understand that in making that deal, I intended to walk away. So what I did at that time is, in making the deal, I got immunity for any past crimes that I might have committed up until that point, except for murder. But I knew I didn't have to worry about that. So I knew that if I walked away from that life, I'd do my prison time, I'd have a clean slate. When I got out, I have a chance at least to make a life for myself. So that was my strategy. And fortunately, it worked out. I mean, there were a lot of challenges along the way, don't get me wrong. And I was right about some things, wrong about others. But here I am all these years later. So at the end of the day, it worked out.
What year was that you got that 10-year sentence? And then what year did you get out?
I took the plea in 85. I did 5 years, was out on parole for a little over a year, violated my parole, went back in, and then got out in 95. So I did a total of 8 years.
Okay.
I was released in 95.
And then right after you get released, that's when you decide that you want to leave the life, or is it a few more years after that?
No, 95, that was it. I mean, I never went back.
And that was basically the life-changing moment. Like after that, you started going down a different path completely. I think you're big into Christianity. Is that right now?
Well, yeah, I am a Christian. I have a very strong faith in God and Jesus Christ. And, I say it every week and every day if I have an opportunity to. That's what I do. And I've spoken at, over 1,300 churches around the world. And this is what I do. This is the main thing that I do, I should say. But that's the life I live.
Yeah. What made you get closer to Jesus and Christianity and your faith? Was it being like in prison for 8 years? And I know you did solitary confinement too for a number of those years. Is it in that dark place like that you find your spirituality?
Well, yeah, it was my wife and my mother-in-law that really introduced me to Christ. And I grew up as a Catholic, so I knew who he was. I just didn't have a relationship. But yes, the 2.5 years I spent in solitary, reading, studying, I don't like to say getting spiritual. That doesn't sound right to me, but just, reading my Bible and getting to know my God. It was during that time that I, became a believer. And I want you to understand this, Justin. I became a believer based upon what I considered very solid evidence that my beliefs are real and true and reliable. It wasn't like I just got some revelation or God appeared to me out of the sky. That never happened to me. It just was a lot of study and a lot of realization that this is all true. And it's only been proven to me even more over the past 20 years. So I believe it with all my heart. Now, I'm not saying I'm the greatest guy in the world, not the best Christian around, but my faith is as strong as anyone's.
Yeah. What were some of those things that really made you believe that there was, have faith that there was a God and there was Jesus and that you had a relationship with him because you never had one you said you never had one before that time, but what were some of the things that gave you that proof that you needed?
Well, I'm a New Testament guy basically, and I'm very into apologetics, which is, the study of defending your faith. And I look for evidence because, I've been to trial 5 times. I mean, evidence has been part of my life. I mean, I'm a guy that I want to see evidence. And for me, the evidence that exists in the Bible and the research and the evidence that exists around to support the veracity of the Bible is very strong. And I believe in it 100%. So, again, I like to tell people my faith, God first appealed to my intellect and then it went down into my heart. And, where other people doubt maybe the existence of Jesus Christ, I see the evidence very strongly in favor that he lived, he died, and he rose again from the dead. And that's the basis of our faith as a Christian. That's it. And I can speak to you for the rest of the week about that because I'm very into, again, apologetics, defending my faith. But I'll tell you one of the things that stood out. And, people say, well, how do you know this is real and how do you know the Bible is real? And that's a whole nother answer that I can give you forever because there's so much evidence to support it. But one of the things that really got me is that, when the apostles witnessed Jesus dying, they were all deflated. They all ran for the hills in different ways. They denied Christ and their relationship with him. But after they saw the resurrection, all 12 of them okay, and I'll add the other 12, even though Judas was a betrayer, went to their deaths, believing in Jesus and defending him, and they wouldn't betray him in any way. People don't die for something they don't believe in. And it's not a coincidence that 12 people saw the same thing and died for the same reason at different times in life. That was very strong evidence for me. But that's only one thing. You know, I don't want to say that's everything. That's only one thing, but it really stood out to me.
Yeah. It's very interesting. I like having different perspectives on the show too. And I'm a very spiritual guy, you know, even though that word is kind of lame at this point. I am actually a Christian, but don't really go to church and do those types of things as much as I probably should. But I like getting, you know, the perspective on things. And it seems like to me that that's really one of the big things that changed your life, is actually finding God and finding a greater purpose than the things that you were doing prior to that. Where do you think you would be if you didn't get that in your life? If you didn't find Jesus while you were in jail and actually like change your life, would you be dead or would you be in prison?
I 100% believe I'd be dead or in prison for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
There's not even a doubt in my mind.
Really?
Not a doubt, Justin. It's, you know, the course that God has navigated for me, when I look back on it, it wasn't coincidental. You know, he had a different plan and a purpose for me, and it was really him that navigated it. I just became obedient at some point in time because I believed, and he really did the rest. Now, you know, look, that could end at any point in time. You know, we don't have no guarantee that our life is going to, you know, go on to 102 like my dad. You know, when your time is up, it's up. But, you know, he's given me 68 years, and he's given me 20 some odd years when everybody else predicted my death. Everybody. I mean, everybody, from people on the street to law enforcement to people in my family. Everybody predicted my death when I walked away from that life. And be honest with you, I wasn't, you know, cocky or arrogant enough to say, oh, I'm going to beat all you guys. No. You know, I knew that there was a very good chance that I wasn't going to make it. But I think God just, again, he navigated the course and said, no, I'm not ready to let you go. And until I am, you're going to stay there. And that's it.
Yeah. Incredible. I'm sure, Michael, you learned a ton about business and entrepreneurship and the life skills that you have now from being in the mob and sitting through some of these meetings and negotiations and talking to guys like John Gotti, sitting across the table from him. What are some of the things that you've taken away from the mentality and the mindset that you needed to survive back then to use right now?
Well, you know, negotiating skills were very important back then when you were as active and as high profile as I was, because you're always sitting down, you know, with somebody negotiating a deal or negotiating for somebody's life or something like that. So, you know, you really had to learn how to negotiate in order to come out on top. And I think that was a skill that I mastered at the time. I always was a very good listener. I listened carefully before I spoke back then because I had to. People that shot off the mouth didn't last in that life, and certainly didn't you know, make a name for themselves. So, I mean, I think that was important. You know, as far as business, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not the greatest businessman in the world. There's a lot of things that I don't do well and that I don't like to do. So I don't focus on them. I don't concentrate on them. But I think I had two skills that served me very well. Number one, you know, back then I knew how to recognize a good deal. And number two, I knew how to put the right people to work and get the most out of them. And, you know, I just had a good way with people, and they worked hard for me. And you put the right person in the right place and you get them to work hard and you got it locked. You don't have to know everything. Yeah, so that was a talent that I had back then to make what I had going on successfully. You know, I think I was better back then than I am today, because back then I was in business every day doing this. Now, you know, God gave me a better path. All I have to do is just talk and, you know, and just tell people how much I love the Lord and what he's done for me. So it's easy.
Yeah. It seems like, too, you mentioned you're a good listener. It seems like you have real good people skills as far as being able to adapt to different personalities. What was someone like John Gotti, who is very loud and very like in your face kind of confrontational? What was it like dealing with someone like him and then dealing with somebody else who was maybe more quiet and kind of reserved, so you couldn't really figure out what their intentions were?
Well, John was difficult because he had a tremendous ego. And I'll say this. I mean, and I'm friendly with his family, so I'm not saying anything out of turn that anybody else didn't know. So it was tough to